What is up? Welcome back to the channel. I'm Blake Green. I'm a cloud architect and AWS community builder. Today, we're going to be building a full stack web application on AWS. Um, so we're going to be following this workshop here at fsgql.com. And basically it is going to go through and we're going to go through each of the steps to build out a full stack. I can't say full stack today, but build a full stack application that books vacations to the moon. And first of all, we got to give a shout out to the creator, who I think links himself here. Let's open it in a new tab. I think his name is Amo. Could be saying that wrong, but Amo put this together. And I've had a chance to really go through like the first parts of it, and it looks like a really awesome workshop that touches a lot of different technology and tools. And I thought it'd be a fun one to go through. And in the previous workshop series, I followed through Nader Dabit's workshop to create a CDK with Next.js application, which was really fun. And I kind of wanted to continue to build on that as far as like the full stack, development, and sort of learning how that whole thing, really works together. And I thought that this would be a good next, step to continue to learn that. So yeah, he has a link here that basically shows you what it will look like. You can see it's hosted on Netlify. But yeah, it's a pretty, nice and simple little application here. But basically, they're pretty decent prices, to get a trip to the moon, right? So that's always good. But yeah, they all link together, and I think there's some data here that we pull with GraphQL, and then I noticed that you can actually go through and book a trip using like the Stripe API, which will be interesting to go through. But yeah, it seems pretty cool. At the top here it says this course-like resource will teach you how to use GraphQL with AWS Lambda and DynamoDB with JavaScript on the back end, while you can choose your own adventure on the front end side of things with Vue or React. Both tracks will cover use of their respective Apollo client libraries while using Stripe for payments. So I think I'm going to stick to the React side of things. But we'll see if I feel how I feel with when we get to that point. It kind of goes into more detail between the front end stack and the back end. And so on the front end, you can create the lunar tour in either Vue or React. On the Vue side, you uncover how to use persistent state in multiple components, while in the React course, you can learn to use Apollo's local cache as an alternative for Redux. I think he's missing an E there. And then he links to the docs for each of these tools in the front end stack. I'm pretty familiar with most of these. Like I haven't used Apollo before, but I've done enough like GraphQL to know that it's a GraphQL client, I think. So, and then I've never seen Ant Design before. I don't know what Ant Design does. Ant Design a View. Well, looks like it's all in Chinese. Let me see if I can get rid of that. Maybe it's just a bad link or something. I don't know. I guess it's a Chinese website, so I don't know Chinese. Anyways, and then on the back end, we'll be using the serverless framework to create the GraphQL Lambda powered by Apollo server. So in the previous one, we obviously used the AWS CDK and the AWS CDK was kind of our deployment tool. And then this one, we're going to use the serverless framework, which I've used in the past. And, you know, it's obviously kind of back towards the YAML side of things, but I think it's still relevant and useful to continue to like learn, other tools and how they perhaps could do certain things better, than the CDK. Even though I'm a diehard CDK fan, I think just being aware of other tools that could potentially do things better is not a bad thing. So and then it looks like there's it breaks it down into chapters of what we'll exactly be doing. And the first part is the back end. So I'm hoping today we will at least make it through through the first couple chapters, getting things kind of set up. And then in a future stream, we'll, just keep going through and knocking out chapters until we have, deployed this thing. Uh, so yeah, and then finally, I think on the splash page, it kind of shows you to make a bleeding edge application, you need amazing providers to make it imaginable and practical. And of course, using GitHub to put source control our code, and then AWS is a cloud provider. Here's another tool here. It's called Seed. It's a CI/CD provider. So you can think of like GitHub Actions or GitLab runners or Travis CI. Yeah, things like that. And so I've never actually used Seed, and I'm kind of interested to see how it goes. This is Figma. I think I'm getting some feedback on. I'm trying out a new thing where I'm sharing the audio through. Let me see if this works. Let's see if that works better. I'm trying to add a little bit of ambiance to the stream with with the with like adding a tab for a YouTube channel like that has like some lo-fi beats to it, but I don't know if it's working properly. But all right, so continuing on, we'll see if it works or not. I don't know. Like I said, Seed should be pretty cool to check out. Figma for prototyping. Again, haven't used it before. Airtable for product management. Um, that'll be new. Netlify for hosting and CMS. I've used Netlify in the past. It's really cool, really simple. Um, that should be awesome for getting this thing deployed. And then Miro for product management. So I don't know what the difference between Miro and Airtable is. Yeah, not too sure what that is, but anyways, all right. So yeah, let's without further ado, let's get started. All right. Hopefully that is big enough font, but we'll bump it up one. All right, so the introduction. Welcome to Fullstack Serverless GraphQL. This resource is meant to be the most up-to-date way of building a production-ready serverless GraphQL project. This is meant for everyone of all skills. It follows the top-down approach to learning, which is very similar to fast AI courses if you have taken them. Haven't, but interested. Fast AI is pretty dope. Okay, so you are not expected to learn AWS fundamentals or basics of REST APIs / JavaScript, etc. Instead, you will learn by doing and explaining what you've done afterwards. This way, you can focus on what things do instead of what they are. Nice. Pretty powerful. Most importantly, after you have completed this guide, you will need to re-implement what you've learned here in your own project. This is the only way you can verify that you understand what you've learned. However, if you're looking to learn AWS, GraphQL, Vue, or React specifically, you can easily check out the code on GitHub, take what you need. Everything is built in Node.js. Most of the tools used in the stack can be swapped with something similar, like AWS Lambda can be swapped with GCP Cloud Functions. You just got to figure out how to adjust your project accordingly. The core concepts of building a GraphQL backend and consuming it in the front end are applicable across any provider as long as you understand the fundamentals. Lastly, when you get to the front end part of the course, you can choose your own adventure from in the form of React or Vue. Both are decent examples of how to tackle advanced front end implementation. Cool. Yeah, so if you're also following along as well, you can actually click the chapters on the right hand side here, and it shows you, uh, what step we're on. Anyways, so getting set up, what you need: an AWS account, check. Node.js, check. A GitHub account, check. Basic knowledge of Git. I think I got that. Basic knowledge of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Maybe. Setting up an AWS account. Okay. think we should be good there. Git provider. Oh, that's cool. So he also links to uh, some useful tools if you need to get caught up on your Git knowledge and your HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. There's some useful links there. That's nice. So a case for GraphQL. GraphQL is a query language for your API that allows you to specify exactly in what shape and form you want to get your data to be queried or mutated on your API. GraphQL has nothing to do with your database schema, nor does it force you to use a graph database. What problems does GraphQL solve? GraphQL prevents you from developing multiple endpoints to collect data. Let's say you had an API that does operations on stocks, companies, and currencies. You would have to you would have had to make the following endpoints in the backend to get all stocks. Oh, to get all stocks. To get a stock. Get a company. I think you get the pattern. Whereas with GraphQL, our endpoint could be /GraphQL with the following schema. And then we have our type company with an ID and name. We have a type stock with ID, name, company. And then that's a child of the company here. And then you could say you can use a type query to get stocks and companies with ID and stock. Makes sense. Now you can query the data using GraphQL. You can simply do this. Okay, yeah. Which will get all companies associated with that stock for you. What are the advantages of using GraphQL? GraphQL has a better developer experience because you can create this schema on the back end. A front-end developer can easily see the schema and understand how they need to structure their tasks on the front end to access specific data. A GraphQL API is self-documenting. Server-side GraphQL libraries come with Playground or Graphical to test your API, so no more fiddling with Postman. GraphQL also comes with subscriptions, which are real-time connections to the server for cases like messaging, notifications, etc., all without using other libraries for this use case. Dope. So I think that's, finishes off the epilogue here. And now we're getting into setting up the infrastructure. So we will just, in this chapter, we will initialize the backend repo and get everything set up. Create a repo on GitHub, then head over to GitHub and check on create a repo. So we create a repo called Lunar Tour API. Now we need to clone the serverless GraphQL starter. So open your terminal in the file. Okay. So let me just create this guy. All right. So my projects, let me just see what's going on here. So it doesn't say this off the bat, but obviously we're using the serverless framework CLI. So if you haven't already installed that, you might need to do that. So I'm going to copy that here. So this page might need a little a little work. It's a little confusing because you're creating a repo and then you're running. So I think you need to like include a little more details on that because we obviously want to. Yeah, that's really confusing because we want to clone our repo, right? Not. All right. Well, let's try this, I guess, and see what happens. So it looks like what happened here? Okay, so maybe we're just all right. Yeah, maybe I jumped the gun there. Uh, so now we're in the Lunar Tour API directory. Okay, yeah, makes sense. So now we run git init git add and then git commit dash m initial commit. Git remote add origin and then the URL. Push dash u. Okay, So now all of our code, if we refresh here, we have all of our code here. So it looks like, instead of trying to reinvent the wheel, kind of starting out with some boilerplate, starter code um, that we can just modify, manipulate, and yeah. I wonder if he created this as well. Okay. So now we have our GitHub repo set up. Setting up seed. In this part, we'll set up seed, which is our continuous integration and deployment tool that will allow us to deploy our backend whenever there's a change to the master branch of our repo and configure different stages. The reason why we're doing this so soon is that our Apollo server will to work with serverless offline. We need the Lambda and other resources to be provisioned to work with the GraphQL playground. So sign up for an account. I've already done this actually. So if I go to c.run, so this is like, the homepage for seed.run. Says they're speeding up deployments 100x. So we shall see. Looks pretty cool though. I mean, I kind of I like what I see so far, and it'll be interesting to see. Yeah, so they do have their own version of something similar to this as well that I've seen. It's called serverless stack, and so maybe after this we'll go through that one as well. But yeah, it seems pretty cool, and so I already have a login. I've already signed up, so I'm just gonna log in here. Just says Blake Green's team. And then once you get signed in, we can add a new app. And let's see, what else does it say? Okay, so we just need to connect to our repo, and we'll authorize Seed to access our repo. I'm only going to select our, what is it, Lunar Tour API. Okay, so I'm going to go side by side here, see if this works better with the guide. Okay, so now that we have that, Okay, so yeah, it basically is saying like once we've selected our repo, it should detect the service automatically, and it did. So it saw that serverless YAML file, which is typically like the entry point for the serverless framework applications. So we'll just add service. Uh, and then we need to add. I don't like this. Like I hate adding access keys, but yeah, let me take this on the other screen here so I don't put put uh, put AWS access keys out there on the internet like a lot of people. Well, nowadays a lot of people do it. So, but I'm not gonna do that. I really hope that the music's kind of coming through on the stream, but we'll have to wait until afterwards to see if it worked. All right. Okay. So I think that's oops. Oh, no. So I added the access keys and then clicked on add a new app. So once that is done, click add new app. Okay. Now we need to deploy. So in the click the arrow in the dev. Oh, okay. And then click deploy. After a few minutes, you should be able to see the new endpoints and tables we created. Oh, wow. That's pretty cool. Okay, so it says after a few minutes, you should be able to see the new endpoints and the tables we created. First, click on the drop down, then click View Resources. We will get back to how we can move stuff to prod later. Oh, it looks like it might have messed up. Serverless error, trying to populate non-string value into a string for variable self-custom stage. Please make sure the value of the property is a string. Well, looks like we're already jumping into some troubleshooting here, which is it's fun, right? It's supposed to be fun. So let's see if we can go ahead and open up a code editor. Let's see if I can code. This wasn't working. There it goes. So I'm going to bring this guy over here and let's take a look at like what is in the code here. See if we can figure out like if there's like a somewhere where we can change the type of the stage, I guess. Would that be like in the environment variables? So it's not it's not anywhere in the okay, so we have like the .env plugin, and that's where it probably should be grabbing the hmm. So the error that we were getting was trying to populate non-string value into a string for variable custom or self custom stage. So well, it says this is a common serverless build error. Learn. Okay, see if this. Oh wow, look at that. Okay, so it says the problem: certain values in your serverless YAML are expected to take on a string type, but non-string values were assigned. This usually happens when the value is a reference instead of a string, and the reference resolves to a non-string, usually undefined, or an object. Solution: if you're using a reference value, ensure that the reference can be resolved to a string. For example, if you're running into an error with the following reference, ensure that the config YAML file exists has the table name attribute. Hmm. Well, it's referencing self custom dot stage. And there's nothing like that in here. So how to use add environment variables for various stages here. Rename this file to .env and uncomment its usage in the serverless YAML. Make sure to not commit this file. Okay. um, I just kind of assumed that, this self custom dot stage would be to load environment variables externally. Rename env.example to env.yaml and uncomment the following line. Also make sure to not. It's kind of confusing. So far, this has been a little confusing, but 'cause it's not like extremely um, like detailed, in the documentation. But let's try to like move on and see like if this kind of just works itself out as we start to change the resources in the serverless.yaml file, um, and see if that works. So set up tables. In this chapter, we're going to create our DynamoDB tables. DynamoDB is a NoSQL key value store serverless native database. It's a mouthful there. Let's see here. Oh, sounds like a mouthful. In a nutshell, it does not force your data to adhere to any data model or schema, and you do not have to provide any server instances for it to run. However, lately I found myself using it for a variety of workloads. You should be fully aware of its downsides. The way we will be provisioning our tables will enable us to create tables for any of our environment stages. Create a folder called resources and create a file called listing-db.yaml. Paste the following inside. So I'm assuming that resources would be at the root of our project. And okay, so we already have a folder called resources. See, again, like maybe it's just maybe it's just this guide or something. I probably create a pull request to update some of the wording because it's a little confusing on what exactly we're trying to do. Because obviously we already have a resources directory and a file called table.yaml. So Is that different than uh, what we already have? I guess so. So below the code here, it says what is happening, and it says we're creating a table with a primary key called listing ID and a sort key called listing name. Both of them are strings. For the provision throughput section, we're basically uh, telling AWS how many operations per second can be allowed when data is being written or read. Okay, so I'm just gonna create a new file called listing-db.yaml. And I actually installed a VS Code extension for serverless ID. And so I'm curious to see if this resources. Yeah, I was curious to see if there was any IntelliSense, but I mean, it doesn't it doesn't look like it yet. Oh well, there's a that's kind of cool. So yeah, I mean, it's called what is it called? This extension called Serverless IDE by Thread Heap, and apparently it's supposed to help you with creating serverless applications with AWS SAM and CloudFormation and the serverless framework and VS Code. Um, so yeah, you could see there's a little bit of IntelliSense there once. Oh, so I just typed in properties and then or prop and enter, and it already gave me some boilerplate there. And then you can kind of hover over these attributes or properties and see some more details about what is required, what are optional properties. So that's pretty cool, I guess. Table name. So we want to say yeah. So this is kind of interesting too because we can hover over this this the the value of the table name, and it's telling us that this value is of type string, and which makes me kind of confused on why if we have our serverless YAML file here, and it was telling us that there was an issue with self custom stage. I mean, what? I guess we're not getting like the hover. Hmm. So it's not really telling us like if it's a type string. All right. Anyways, moving on. All right. So I'm just going to go ahead and copy and paste this in here. No point in typing out that. For the key schema, listing ID, key type is hash. Attribute name, listing name. Provisioned throughput. I think that's right. All right. So in the same directory, let's create the table that will store our bookings called booking-db YAML. Okay, so it's basically the same thing. Except we'll just change all the listings. So if I just change all occurrences to bookings, I didn't change this. Oh, wait, oops. Oops. Oh, that's cool. So another part of that, the extension, the serverless IDE extension, it will actually do like a CFN lint. So every time you save a file, it will actually lint it for you and format it properly, I think. So We'll just hit install there. Okay, so now we have the listing DB and the booking DB. We're going to do the same thing here. Only difference is that we need to we made the sort key the listing ID. Now we need to reference it in our serverless YAML file. So go back over to serverless YAML and yeah, I wonder if we're supposed to get rid of the resources that are in here, but I'm not sure. We'll just go ahead and add it for now, and maybe later we can figure out, if it's required. Okay, so in the same file, we need to create those tables in the custom section of the file. So custom. Interesting. So we are adding the stage here. Maybe that's what was missing from the original deployment. I bet that's what it is, right? Because the error that we were getting in seed was that it couldn't it might have been an undefined type, and it was looking for a string to enter, the name of this DB, this table database, right? And if it was looking up here in this custom section, and there wasn't a reference to stage, which is the type, then that's probably the error that we were getting. It was missing this right here. So interesting. So let's go ahead and add this, and then I'm just gonna copy and paste it into here. Yeah, I bet that's what happened. Because now that now this can resolve to custom, custom, and then stage, which we didn't have before. Guaranteed. Okay. As we will as create them. Yikes. Okay, so looks like we need to add an IAM role for this Lambda. And if we scroll down, oh, interesting. So yeah, he has. See, it's confusing because I don't know if it's supposed to be like in addition to the boilerplate that we've already, we started with, or if this is something that we're supposed to uh, like replace because the starter project that we um, initiated the project with, um, has all this stuff in here already, and that's what we use to try to deploy through seed. And now now we're changing a lot of the values um, of our serverless project. So kind of confusing. I'm not sure. Anyways, let's try to keep going. Profile is personal account. I don't have that profile, but yeah, and then another thing here is like we have our table throughputs. I'm not exactly sure what's going on here. Anyways, okay. So I think the most important thing is that we're trying to like add our bookings and listings databases. So I'll just try to add these two. It looks like we just need to add a few more permissions to the IAM role. So just include those. And this. So now apparently we can commit this to our project, to our GitHub project, and then it should like automatically kick off or trigger a deployment in seed. So uh, let's give it a shot and see what happens. So if we come back over here, so this is the seed, back at the seed. We can see it's kicking off here. Let me see if I can zoom in. Go full screen here. I wonder if we can like watch it as it's going. So far, I like this tool. I mean, it's pretty nice that yeah, again we got the yeah. See, I think there's just something wrong with like where we started from, and then like the changes that we've made to the project. Um, I don't. So let's look at. Let's see here. So it's talking about the queue name now. If we take a look at the code and so is it when it tries to go into these other resources or something? Like, I wonder if we just try to like comment these guys out, right? Because we were only trying to wow, I just blanked here. So oops. Like, let's just try that. See what happens. So I basically just commented out these other resources that weren't actually part of the, or referenced in the workshop. So we'll see if it just basically, oh, that's an error too, isn't it? Man, this this workshop is not doing great. This should be booking dash db, and I think that's a typo uh, in the workshop, right? So if we go, yeah, so this should be booking dash db. Maybe I'll hook them up and open an issue and get that. Yeah, we'll help them out and get that fixed. But let's see what happened with the. Did it fail again? Yep. Ah, okay. So you can't reference something that doesn't exist, right? So we'll comment that out as well. We'll try this one more time. We're creeping up on our hour and a half time limit here, so hopefully this one will work. I'm curious to see what it kind of looks like on the AWS side. I wonder if it's probably just CloudFormation under the hood. So oh yeah, there you go. So looks like it might be working. Previously, it would have failed by now. So, oh, here we go. Look at that. So now we're starting to see that the resources finally deploy. Oh, it was a success. Look at that. Check mark. Nice. All right. Finally. So yeah, I mean, just kind of like cruising around this seed interface to see what it looks like. And I mean, so far I like it. I mean, it's kind of nice. It's simple and kind of shows you the progress of uh, the different stages. If you had deployment and production. I like how it sort of auto deploys to a development environment. Yeah, this is pretty nice. I mean, I like also how it kind of keeps track of all your resources that are deployed through your project as well. Um, but yeah, let's see. Let's go back to our. So now we've created our infrastructure for the tables as code. Commit this code to master for the tables to be created. Okay. Cool. So I think that is the end of chapter 2, setting up infrastructure. And I think that's where I'm going to stop, and then we'll pick up on adding libraries in chapter 3 in the next stream, where we start to interact with our data a little bit more. And Yeah, so we'll keep chugging away. I think it was a success to finally our resources deployed through seed, and then we'll just continue to build off of that in the next part of the stream. So yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time. Thanks. Bye.